Premise to published week 5. Let's just get straight into it. This week, I want to talk about outlining versus discovery writing, or plotting versus pantsing, or as George R. R. Martin puts it, gardening versus architecting. He put it a lot more eloquently than that. I'm a natural discovery writer. I don't usually outline, but I probably should have done an outline for this video because I have a feeling it's going to go off the rails.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff.
Before we go any further, I should mention last week I recorded 3 videos before I realized how fucking ridiculous a mohawk looks front on. It is a mohawk. It's not just some weird front spike. I know I confused a few people, so it is what it is. So like I said, I am not a natural outliner. I'm more of a natural discovery writer who has become a partial outliner. I can see the benefits in both styles. So if you're unfamiliar, an outliner basically has an outline of the story they're going to write. Important plot points, there might be important points in a character arc. A lot of world building details could go into it. There's varying degrees of complexity for an outline. Like someone like, I think Brandon Sanderson said he writes thousands of pages to outline a book, or maybe for a series. That was, all these world building details. He doesn't just keep it all in his head. I do think he does do a bit of discovery writing when it comes to character development, but it sounds like a lot of his plot points are just predetermined. I can't work like that. I need a little more flexibility. So even as a natural discovery writer, I realized after I had a few fiction manuscripts under my belt that there's a lot of value in having even a bare bones outline. What I normally do these days is once I get started and I know roughly what the story will be, I definitely know who the protagonist is. I won't get too far into writing without an ending in mind. I think it's really helpful to know where you're going with the story. It can stop meandering, getting lost, not knowing what to do next, because you always know what you're working towards. I also found it valuable to have a middle to work towards as well, because the ending can feel so far off, especially if you're writing a really long story. But if you've got that middle to write towards, the way I look at it, I don't know if they still do this. I don't watch a lot of TV these days, but they used to do mid-season finales. So from the start of the season, it would build up to this midpoint, and there'd usually be a break of, I don't know what it was, a few weeks before the season resumed after the mid-season finale. This was before binging and streaming, I guess. But that mid-season finale would be a pivotal moment in the season. It wouldn't necessarily resolve the central conflict of the overall season, but it would be it could be a cliffhanger, it could be some mind-blowing moment, it could be some, you know, shocking information. You get something that makes, well, I was about to say readers, in that case, watchers, but in the case of a book, readers want to read on. Like there might be some sort of resolution, some sort of big payoff, some sort of information reveal. And I'm not saying this necessarily needs to be in the exact middle of the book. It could be closer to the start or closer to the end. But I like to have this big moment I'm working towards before the ending. That way you keep the momentum. You've always got somewhere to go and you know where you're going. So for this book, while I don't have an outline, I actually have a lot more notes and details written down than I normally do, because it's been so long since first initial conception of this idea. I come up with this story idea months ago, but I just didn't have the time to start putting, solid words onto the paper manuscript wise. So I just keep jotting down all these notes, and basically got a full character arc in my head, but all these world building details. I've even got a few lines of dialogue that'll come up eventually. It's like this chaotic scrapbook of, there's no order to it as well. I don't know how I'm going to find things. I'm going to miss things. I don't know how I'm going to make that work, but I've got a lot of notes. I've actually found it really useful. Like, ideally, I would have started writing this story months ago, and if that was the case, I wouldn't have got all these notes down. It would have been a lot more discovery writing, finding these things out as I go. But it is really useful having these details down, especially the world building details. I don't have to stop and think, what should this be called? I've got a lot of these notes already down. So I want to keep this one short. I think I say that every week and it never happens, but I think this week it will actually happen. My advice to natural discovery writers: if you're having trouble writing, gaining momentum, keeping momentum, if you're getting stuck, if you feel like your story's meandering, it can help to do what I normally do and at least have that ending in mind, that destination that you're riding towards. And any other important plot points that you know ahead of time, whether that's a big event in the middle, like the mid-season finale, or anything else you know is going to happen in the story, if you know roughly where that's going to happen and what is going to happen, that can give you something to write towards in the middle as well, between the beginning and end. And to rigid outliners, don't get too stuck in your outline and allow for some flexibility, be flexible. I can't imagine, like, I've never used a complete outline to write a story, but I can't imagine once you start writing, everything goes to plan. Like the character develops exactly how you thought they would, the plot unfolds exactly how you thought they would. Maybe miracles happen. Maybe it's not a miracle. Maybe that happens commonly with outliners, but I just don't see it. Hey, if your outlines always hold up, then power to you. But if you've got something outlined or planned and it's not working, just change it. Be flexible. Be natural. All right, I think I have actually managed to keep this short. So let's get to the word count. Last week it was pitiful. This week it's not much better, but I did get some words on the page. This week's word count, up from just over 12,000, I think it was, is 13,117. That's over 1,000 new words on the page. Yeah, it's been a lot harder than I thought it would be. I only got one writing session in this week and I had to stay up late to do it. I'd been writing and editing other people's stuff all day. So I got a decent session in. I got 1,000 words down, but by the time I closed my laptop, that's the thing as well. I was getting momentum. I was starting to get back into the story, like starting to really hone in and lose myself in the story. And then it's like, I'm about to pass out. I need to get off the couch and go to bed. So just imagine if I could spend as much time as I do writing and editing other people's stuff, writing my own stuff. I'd be so productive. I'd get so many books out there. I'd get so much done. But modern life, what a load of shit. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway and hate watch my content. That's always fun.